And then we got, over to my left over here, this big guy is Curly from the movie. Mr. Will Sasso. Will. For many TV shows he's been on, movies, Mad TV, all kinds of cool stuff.
I was the king of Queens.
That's enough.
I was waiting for someone to say, "Hey, look, Larry's here." And I was going to choke you.
Actually, in all truth, guys, Sean really wanted to be here. Yeah. He's doing a show, a theatrical show. What's it called again, Will?
An Act of God.
An Act of God. So it's one of those things where he performs 8 shows a week, and he doesn't have an understudy, and the show is literally, if he doesn't show, they lose. There's no show. So he really, all jokes aside, truly wanted to be here and would have been here, but he's doing his theatrical thing. But he's a louse anyway.
And a weasel.
That's right. Anyways, you know what? There's actually.
I should play this message from him. You won't be able to see all of the video.
Yeah, go for it.
But there was a message here, and where is it? Because I can play the entire thing. You in the front row will be able to see.
Hi, my name is Sean Hayes here. I'm really sorry I can't be with you all, but I'm in San Francisco until April 17th doing my play, An Act of God. Correction, I'm in my hotel room in San Francisco. But I'm really wishing I could be with you all, and thanks for coming on down. And the Stooges are in our hearts as much as they are in yours. So hope to see you all soon, and much love.
So glad to have you guys here. I mean, it's wonderful for all you folks. Thanks for coming out. We're so excited about.
Sit down.
Sit down.
We're going to do a little sit down. We're going to start with a little sit down. We're going to swing the alphabet. Swing it. Now, B, A, B. It's just a pound those horse keys. Sorry, honest to God, that's like from 30 years ago, and it doesn't stop. It's a ticker tape.
Now you guys have got a sample of what I had to deal with in this movie.
You wake up in the middle of the night with that stuff. It's PTSD. When's the next movie?
Well, we're working on it. In fact, I happen to have a writer right next to me who's working on it. Got something to say?
Yes, it will be kind of modernized, like James Bondish type modernized, but the Stooges will remain the Stooges.
You know what's interesting though about that too is that when the Stooges did their Stooges and Hercules, that was also their version of a modernized deal. Right. So it feels like we're following in those footsteps.
Right, except that was 40 years ago.
Yeah, right, sure.
Well, we did the last movie. It's a bit of an origin story because we wanted to tell everybody, what the Stooges are doing in the current world, this world of 2016, 2012 then. And so we've done that, and we've told you all where the Stooges came from in the modern world. Now the next one, we're going to take you on a wild, crazy adventure. With this guy right, I can guarantee you it's going to be wild and crazy. So we're really looking forward to that, and we're really looking forward to the fact that these knuckleheads are back playing the Three Stooges again. So that's really...
I will say something. 500, we opened a bottle of champagne on the 500th guy that auditioned for the Three Stooges.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like guys like Will walk in, it's like, okay, he looks like Curly.
Well, you also knew
it's Curly,
no, he's not.
What about guys like Chris? What about my buddy? Oh, he even gets arms.
Hey, Ixnay have his credit. So, and literally, I mean, people that, comics from all over, from, every station came in. And then this knucklehead walks in. I said, "That's Mom. Period. That's Mom." So I brought him to the studio, and they're like, they're like, "Well, we don't know him." It's like, what the heck is the difference? You don't know it.
Well done.
Right. So anyway,
He's been busy working the past 25 years. He's that guy you see on all those TV shows, those pesky movies and television shows.
I'm a bad penny.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you, the truth of the matter is, when I first heard about the project, I knew I just wanted to be in the room somehow, even as like a production assistant or something, because I love the Stooges so much, and I worried that, like many things in Hollywood, there might not actually be someone involved in the project that likes the Stooges, you know? And so it was my wife who said, look, you're a very high-strung and angry person. You should really think about the whole mold. You know, I love the Stooges so much, but I always sort of did all three of them. I never differentiated. And I remember them saying for the audition, they really didn't want anyone to come in character. They just wanted you to come in and be the character, but don't, you know, dress up or any of that stuff. I couldn't go in like this because there would be, I wouldn't get past a single line of dialogue. They just would. So I made a costume. I went to the local foam store. I built up my neck a little bit and my shoulders and beefed myself up a little. I went to a Hasidic wig shop and cut a wig. Yeah, I put under eye bags on and filled in my brows, and I drove to the audition that way. It was the worst costume you've ever seen in your life. And I walked in, and there were a bunch of guys that just looked like this sitting in the waiting room, and they were all looking at me like I was nuts. And when I walked in, Mike was in there. And I walked in the door and I said, hello, and he went, oh, brother.
I swear to God, I was like, he's either nuts or he's low. One of the two. I didn't know which actor was on.
I never broke character. As soon as I walked in, I said, now listen, you mugs. People ain't going to give us a job. We got to get out there and get it. And I never broke character once throughout the entire audition process. It took me 6 months to get this damn job. I auditioned 14 times, and every single time that I met Pete and Bob Farrelly, I was in character. Even when they were talking to me, sort of, they're like, you know, Chris, we're there. I was like, okay, yeah. And they're like, it's just great. I was like, what are you talking about? Mine's a piece of huge. You'll break it.
I got a secret for you. You still haven't broken.
No, it was a big win for me because, you know, over the process, it had been rumored that Johnny Knoxville was going to do it. He's terrific, you know, what he does. And Hank Azaria was going to do it, and all these other guys. And I kept getting these little calls from Mike saying, hey, hold on, don't worry, it's not done yet. That's what you sound like. That's what you sound like. Yeah. Don't worry, it's not done yet. All right.
Well, that's Hollywood. Making the movie was not easy. You know, this project actually took 15 years. Yeah, we started. It took 15 years, and you know, a lot of people questioned whether we should make the movie. You take on a sacred cow like the Three Stooges. That's an incredible challenge. I mean, really, really difficult because these guys are the greatest comedians that ever lived. Let's face it.
Yeah. Here, here.
And one of the things a couple things we wanted to do, we wanted the movie to be, in effect, a tribute, and it had to be true to the Stooges. And that was our mantra all we've going along. This movie is not going to be some watered down version of the Stooges with little slapstick or anything else. And we had studio execs who would tell us, oh, you know, the Stooges, maybe they should be girls. Maybe they should be gay. I mean, who knows? You know, it's like, we had to hold to our guns a lot. And I know we had a lot of fans who questioned, you know, you can't really make a movie about these guys, they're too great. But, you know, we view it a little differently. We want to keep the Three Stooges alive for future generations. And that's what it's all about. It's about keeping these guys, because they're so great. And we thought if we could get three good enough actors who can really nail the parts of Larry, Moe, and Curly, we can make these guys alive again, never as great as they were, but certainly a tribute to the greatness that they did.
Can I say also that just to add to that you know, it was a love fest from the start. Everybody involved in it, much to my pleasant surprise. All they really wanted to do was honor the Stooges, venerate the Stooges, and certainly for all of us up here. And what's fascinating is, when I think about it, you know, Moe was the proverbial leader from the beginning until the very, very end. And Moe was so focused and specific about what his vision was for the Stooges that even when he was at death's door, he was ready to move on with the next chapter. I mean, Emil Sitka had basically signed the paperwork to be the new Larry. So Moe recognized that the brand that they had created, which was very intentional, by the way, was something that needed to continually evolve and morph. And it's something that he did. You know, the shorts had a very high production value in the 30s. And by the time they got into the 50s and 60s, production really dropped because comedy got more expensive. And so, you know, there were plenty of detractors before the movie came out that cited, you know, this is heresy, you know, the Stooges would never do this. But I would counter, this is exactly what the Stooges would do. What they would do is want to keep evolving. And, you know, we wouldn't claim to say that we're doing what the Stooges did, but I think that we're walking in the footsteps of what Moe would have, what he actually already was doing. So that gave me at least some peace at night, thinking like, you know, hey, this is for you, big guy, you know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, the bottom line is obviously when you're making a movie in Hollywood, all they care about is making the money, right? So they look at the bottom line. That's why it was such a challenge for 15 years to make a movie, because, you know, studio executives would go, well, what's the bottom line? Is it going to make money? Blah, 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 blah. Thank goodness, you know, Earl and Mike and the Farrelly brothers kept pushing and pushing and pushing. We get to make the movie. And the thing for us, then you get to relax and realize we're basically following this blueprint. They can stop the movie from being made, or they can not release it. But for now, while we're shooting, right, we may as well follow this blueprint. Of course, as everyone up here and all of you know, the blueprint that they created, the triad that they happened upon, is being repeated today. It's like rock and roll and the Beatles. Everyone is influenced by the Beatles in music, whether they know it or not. And everyone in comedy is influenced by the Stooges, whether they know it or not. So for the creatives, and there's one thing going on with the people behind the movie and the studio and that whole thing. For the creatives, there's no other way to make it than to follow it exactly. And actually, Chris and I were just talking about, we're on set, and there was a piece where I've got the binoculars up, and Larry David is there, and you know he's standing right there, and he's got the binoculars back around, you know, does one of those. And people say, whoa, why did you say uh-oh? Why did you say uh-oh? And I was like, for the longest time, going, I don't think Hurley would say uh-oh. And I was like, where's Mike? Where's Mike? And you were like on the other side of the lot, and they're like, yeah, Mike. And Chris wasn't there. And I'm like, I don't think he would say uh-oh. Well, just do uh-oh. What do you do? Uh-oh. And I was like, he would never say uh-oh. He would never. We're like messing around for like 15 minutes. Time, you know, it's costing money. I don't think he would say, we'll just say, you know, give him, you know, or something. And I was like, ended up with that. Mike comes back, what was the problem? And this is my impersonation. So they wanted me to say, uh-oh. He would have never said, uh-oh. So you put away your toolbox. There's Chris, myself, and Sean as actors doing whatever we think we want to do when you portray a character. This will get a laugh. No. Put all of that away. Only use the Curly toolbox. Only use the Moe toolbox.
What would Moe do? That's it.
That's it.
If Moe would do it, it's not.
We can't do it. So that was the thing as actors. So it's awesome to be here because with so many, you know, Stooge fans in one place, because we all run into Stooge fans all the time who walk up to you like, I saw the movie. And, you know, I'm saying, like, that's who we want to please, because we're Stooge heads ourselves, and that's who it's one of the rare cases in Hollywood where that's actually who the movie was for, because if not, there's no point to make the thing. So, anyway, I mean, how much money did it make? Sure.
You know, I want to hit on something. That Earl said, because Earl mentioned something about the Stooges in the slapstick world. And this is something that, so I've been a crazy Stooge fan since I was probably 5 years old. And back in the day, I would get any book or reading material on the Stooges and you know, learn everything there was to know. And I thought I knew pretty much everything there was to know. And what I learned listening to, I don't know if you guys have ever heard, I don't know if you can get your hands on these, but in 2009, Howard Stern did a radio show called Stooges Lost and Found. Have you guys heard this? Tom Bergeron, the host from Dancing with the Stars, when he was 16 years old, he got Moe's phone number. And he would call Moe on a weekly basis and talk to him. This is all very true, and he recorded his conversations with Moe. And he was telling Howard Stern about this in 2007. And Stern, being a huge Stooge fan, said, you know, I want to hear those tapes. And Bergeron, to his word, went to his mom's old house up in the attic, found the tapes, and they put together this 2-hour show that is just, for a Stooge fan, it's riveting, because it's like Moe was here. And what's particularly gratifying is Bergeron, at 16, had the fortitude and the foresight to ask Moe all the questions that we might ask him. And one of the questions that Bergeron asked him, and I'm sorry, I'm digressing here, but it's super fascinating. Bergeron said, how do you feel about the Stooges' place in slapstick history? And Mo said, well, now you've hit upon something very interesting there. He says, you see, slapstick began in the circus. It was where a clown chased another clown with a bit of a stick, and he slapped him with, you know, had a torpedo between his legs, or whatever it was. What we did was farce. And I never, ever heard the determination. I mean, you always think Stooges is slapstick. But from the man himself, Stooges was farce. And farce being having a strong narrative, strong character development. And I don't know, I just thought that was pretty neat. So, I mean, it's almost like moving forward. You know, someone says, you love the slapstick stuff. I like farce.
And the beauty is that one episode they're fired, but they're the Stooges.
Yeah.
Another episode, they're criminals, but they're the Stooges. Another one, they're in prison, but they're the Stooges.
And it doesn't matter what era they're in, too. They could be in the Civil War, and Curly says, yeah, 3 men in a bed, only 1 blanket. How do they keep warm? They turn on the heat.
I mean, they turn on in the Civil War.
See, one thing I think you can all see up here is that these guys are tremendous fans of the boys. And that's really cool. It's cool for us because that's what we needed to make this movie. What really gave us the energy to push forward was when we met Pete and Bob Fairley, huge Three Stooges fans, and their buddy Mike, who they grew up with and worked with in all their movies. And then we got other people involved, like Will, Chris, and Sean, who are fans. They get it. They understand the Three Stooges. They know why we're making a movie, and they're all about the Three Stooges and make it really a homage to the boys. That's what I'm most proud of in the whole thing.
Here's a little known fact. In the beginning of the movie, if you guys saw the film that we made, the Stooges are sleeping up in their bunk bed, and you hear the Stooges snoring. Now, there was a particular type of snore that the Stooges were pretty renowned for. And
Sean could not whistle.
Yeah, Sean couldn't whistle. There's a lot of things he can do, but he couldn't whistle. And so we came up with this. So Mike hid behind the bed.
Under the bed. But now the bed was made to be knocked
break
out
away,
in the movie,
yeah.
to break away. So like, I'm thinking, I've got about 700 pounds worth of guys on top of me. If this thing falls down, I'm dead. You know what I mean? So, but I went under the bed to do the, and it was.
It started with.
Good.
All right. And then we turn over, and then it would go.
No.
Then it would start. No, because it started with me. Okay.
No, you're.
No, you're.
No, because it started with. So it doesn't start with that again. When we flipped over, it reverses the order.
So he starts. And then we turn over, and it would be.
But I would just go off this.
Yeah. That was a 14-hour day just for that. Oh, guys, hold on a second. What are you guys doing? You should, and then you do it the other direction. Where's Mike? He's up the bed.
But they had to have to raise the camera so that they couldn't see me because I'm underneath these guys. And Larry, do you remember the laughing fit?
Oh my God.
Oh my God! I call him Larry. I call him by that stupid name. I'm sorry, but anyway, Sean.
He couldn't do it.
He couldn't do. Every time they would have a close up, and he'd have to flare his nostrils.
Yeah.
And he would start dying laughing, and he goes, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." It'd be like that. And as soon as he did it, he'd start laughing, and he couldn't stop. And he was like, "I'm sorry, please."
We were literally in tears, and then having to like go the other way.
He didn't take it.
It was 15 weeks of that.
It was about 4 million. Anyway.
So we want to answer any questions that you guys got. If you want to raise your hand, we're happy to talk about anything.
This gentleman over here.
Yes. Hi. I'm glad to see you all here. I love the film.
Thanks.
Thank you.
A huge part of the legacy was also the live appearance tours.
Yeah.
Have you ever put any thought to putting the act on the road, even for a limited tour?
Good idea.
Well, yes, we have thought about it. Some years ago, we had a show, you may remember, in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. We had that show. It was
Yeah,
very
that show that you
successful.
can see on
Small show. Since then, we haven't done one, but we're open to it. And that's a possibility in the future.
The sort of the meta version of that was that and it was really just ragtag thrown together. You know, it took more planning than we had time for. But the studio, when we went to promote the film, we were always in character, and so we did many appearances. They weren't live shows as much, but we did appearances as the Stooges.
Well,
go ahead, Will.
The studio was like, well, we did a live appearance tour at the Fontana Raceway, at the what is it, the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
We would go because the studio was like, we want you to show up as the Stooges, and we were like daunted because we're like, well, this isn't Borat. You can't improvise as the Stooges. It's routines and there's sound cues with all the hitting and stuff. And we're like, great, no, don't do it. Okay, so off we went, and so we had written a bunch of like routines so that when we go to what's they call like a junket or something,
yeah.
where you'll see when you see like a poster in the background and they're talking about the movie, there's the 4 seasons and every 150 different media outlets come in and Ben Affleck and the other guy sit there and they ask questions. That was Ben Affleck, right?
That was Ben Affleck, yeah.
Oh, he was good.
Yeah.
So we
Like
wrote these routines to where the entertainment reporters would know what they were saying. So I remember there was one thing where it was, you guys certainly wear some retro duds in the movie. And Larry goes, we prefer the term classic. And I go, yeah, all this stuff's from Giorgio Armani. And he goes, I think you mean Giorgio Armani? And I go, no, Georgia, our mommy. And then he goes, yeah, she left us at the orphanage. We miss her so much. Stuff like that. So
You got lost on the
Oh yeah,
on the go-karts.
in Daytona, remember that?
please.
No,
That story
yeah.
is.
So we were supposed to do this. I don't know whose harebrained
They were on
scheme
the
this
track.
was, but they gave us these go-karts.
Oh, and by go-karts you mean high-powered Formula One mini cars.
Yes, yeah. No, they literally had 2 speeds, off and 90 miles an hour. And it was raining that day.
At the Daytona 500, the only time in the whatever year history that the Daytona 500 was canceled, there's that much rain. So we're in these slick tires.
They said, no, they said, it's canceled, what do we do? Send in those 3 idiots! That's what they said.
Then they get lost. They go back to, we have a trailer.
Well,
they get,
Where
I
are
go
they?
back and they said, where are they? And I had to say, I don't know.
Let me tell you what happened. So we get out ready to go. Literally, the marshal is like, we're not sure, these conditions aren't good. The fire trucks are there. No one should be on this track. What can we do?
Yeah.
And we're in our cars. They're red. They're ready to go. I'm in the front. I'm a little hair triggered. And I thought I heard the cue, and I just gunned it. And we went around the track.
And we have to stop in the middle of the track. Basically, we're delivering the checkered flag.
Correct.
So there's everyone, and we stop in the middle. We got a little routine that nobody hears, and then we run up the thing, and super service, and we think, and we
So all green, super,
and then he goes, literally slides down the ladder, and then we bump into each other. And the thing is, get back in these cars. We're at the speedway, Daytona 500 in Daytona, Florida. And now, take off in these cars, and when you get to the end, there'll be a bunch of cones, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
There'll be a white van there, get out of the car,
And get into the van.
running, get into the van, we'll go back to base camp with all the RVs and stuff.
Yeah. And so we're driving, and there are no cones, and there is no white van. There's just an open stretch of road off the track.
Why don't you just keep driving?
I'll tell you
What
what.
would you have done?
I'll tell you what. This is where even in real life Chris becomes Mo, because Sean and I are behind him, and we're like, "What is he doing? I don't know." And I can tell he's like kind of pissed off. So he's like, and he just takes off. I literally see the back of his head going, "Follow me!" And he's
Follow me.
still in character. Okay, so then we go tearing through the center of the Fontana Raceway, which is like the middle of the Kentucky Derby that like Hunter S. Thompson would have written about. So you got people playing beanbag toss and drinking and
RVs everywhere.
and we're like, and there's like cable cover things. We're in these lower cars, like they would have done, laughing, crying, and people like, literally, people like, Hey, Mo, they're crawling! Like, the Stooges are at.
I stopped the guy. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Wait a minute now. How the hell do we get out of here?"
And then the guy goes, this is the best. Okay, back at the base camp, the guy singing the national anthem is Lenny Kravitz. So everyone knows that Lenny Kravitz is there. So there's like a bunch of RVs. There's Kate Upton and Jane Lynch. There's Lenny Kravitz. There's the Stooges. And we just need to get back to this thing. This thing is huge. Everyone's in there barbecuing, having a good time. We go up to this guy, and it's like, and Chris goes, how do we get back to the thing? He goes, you got to talk to that gentleman over there. We all turn, and there's a booth, and it says information. And we're like, it's a Stooge store. We're in a Stooge store. And we roll up, and Chris says to the guy, hey, say cutie pie. How do we? And he goes into it, and the guy no-sells it. The Stooges are there. He's like, I don't care. And he says, where are you guys trying to go? And Sean goes, Lenny Kravitz. Oh yeah, you want to?
He must have thought we were Lenny Kravitz as masseuses or something. And we made our way back. Yeah.
Are you going to include that in the next movie?
Yeah, exactly. Put that in.
You got to have the little chorus when it's growing up.
It was. Calling Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine.
Yes.
I was just wondering, was the original concept always a full-length movie, or did you ever give thought to like 3 half-hour shorts?
Well, that's why it was cut into 3 episodes, because we wanted to try to keep everyone happy, which you can never do.
Yeah.
Okay, but we broke it up into 3 shorts, but it was one contiguous, movie.
It's always a challenge when putting something together. It's like Mike said, you can't please everybody. So what you got to do is, you never know what's going to work. I think in Hollywood and probably in everything, maybe not, rocket science. You probably know what's going to work in the rocket science, but it's hard to know what's going to land. And so you put your best foot forward, you put your best intentions out there, you use all the faculties, and then you hope it works. And
The next movie will be a full length all the way through, so we'll do it a full through, kind of like they did in the 60s. If you think about those movies, they were journey movies. Hercules and Days, Around the World Days, those movies. The Three Stooges were on a fantastic journey, and so the next movie will follow that format a little bit more.
But the reason we did that was we wanted to kind of reintroduce the world to the Three Stooges and to what they remember, what you people remember, the 25 minutes. So we did 25, 25, 25. Sorry.
We're broadcasting on Facebook right now, and they're asking questions. And the most recent question was, what was your favorite scene to shoot in the movie?
That's really tough.
So many.
The
Well,
horses, the donkeys, when they get yanked off.
that was pretty neat.
That might have been fun for you to watch.
Horrifying.
We actually tell them what happened. They probably don't know what it was. So at the end of the movie when we jump over the bushes and land on the mules and ride off into the sunset? Well, we had to actually shoot it in reverse. So we were sitting on these live hair-triggered mules.
Giant punching bags.
And there were these cords attached to our backs.
And we're wearing
a
this
giant
big
rig.
apparatus.
Yeah, wearing this apparatus. The rig was probably 25 feet in the air.
The bushes were like this high.
Yeah, and what they did was 1, 2, 3, and then a piston would go off and it would pull us up and off 20 feet up in the air.
Well, I don't mean to correct you.
Yes.
It would pull Sean and Chris 20 feet up in the air. And then it would sort of lightly dismount me off the horse. So this was the horse's ass on this air thing, and I go, and like the front of me would hit the back of the horse. Like, I think we gotta power Will's up, and we don't have any more horsepower. I'm getting the horse, she's gone.
One of the horses.
We should have flies
His
there.
horse, they're still trying to find one of his nuts.
I don't know if you've watched the Super Bowl the past couple of years. There's only one Clydesdale now in the Budweiser commercial because I ruined the other one. So.
Anyway, so what they did was they took that and they rewound that to make it look like we were landing on the. No, that was my favorite. One of my favorite bits that didn't end up in the movie actually. It ended up, I think it might be on the Blu-ray. But one of my favorite bits was when we're at the big party sequence and we're around the punch bowl, around the lobster tank. We did this great sequence that the boys did in, was it 3 Little Beers?
Yes.
Yeah. And there was just this great little hit sequence. It's one of my favorites as a kid where, Mo slaps Larry on the forehead, he covers his, he goes to poke him in the eyes, Larry covers his eyes, you know, slaps him on the forehead that makes Larry open his hands up, you know, and just this great hit sequence that was just super fun.
And one of the things also that we had watched, like, see, during the making of the film, as I've said this a bunch of times, I don't know how you make a Three Stooges movie without an iPhone, and here's why. You watch this stuff on your own at home, and I would just be constantly shooting what the Stooges would do on my iPhone so that I could take it to Pete and go, you know, well, but there's also, he's like, I don't think they ever did that. And then it's like, look, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, they did that. So you like show them. And one of the things was, they did it to Curly, where Mo pulled his ear and went, like through his ear, and then you saw Larry on the other side go like, the air went right through Curly's head. So we worked this bit out.
The hospital?
I don't know where we did it was a banquet.
Oh, that's right.
So when you see the banquet, Sofia Vergara looks over and sees, you know, Mo coming up to the guys. But what we had shot that they cut out that I loved, maybe my favorite thing, was, you know, Mo walks up and, you know, taps me on the shoulder. And I think this might be, I'm like, wait your turn. And then, so to get my attention, he pulls Curly's ear and goes, and Larry's hair goes, that made us laugh. And we were doing it in the makeup trailer in the morning, remember, with the girls with like a hair dryer and shooting it on an iPhone and just laughing.
Okay.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. More questions?
Well, one more big one from Facebook is will we see Shemp in the sequel?
Ooh. It's Ben Affleck.
That's a tough one.
That's a.
It will be, if we do, it will be very subtle, and it will only be for the people that really know the Stooges. You know, like, in other words, it may go unnoticed, but I think we would do it, but not make a big.
Let's put it this way: it's a secret that only this group is hearing about it.
You've got to be a moron to get that information. That's right. We're morons.
This gentleman had his hand up.
Yes, sir.
Would there be a pie fight in the new movie?
That would be great.
We're still working on a new movie script. We haven't.
There's going to be a food fight. We don't know if it's going to be pies.
There you go.
They have a kale smoothie fight.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
In the movie, there was a scene where all three of us were at the pool with the nun in a bikini. Why did they cut that out of the movie but kept it in the trailer?
It's a good question.
That's a very good question, and now you're learning more about how studios work or don't work. It was brilliant, actually, to put Kate up with before she came out in Sports Illustrated cover, and we were very fortunate and lucky to have her. And it was brilliant to put her in a bikini.
I think what Earl's trying to say is he kept it for his personal collection.
And we shot it 35 times. Left foot first.
You know what? The real answer to that question is the logistics that go behind how the studio ends up releasing the film is so different than the creative that goes behind making the film, which is why when you asked us what our favorite moments were, there's stuff that actually didn't even make it in the movie, because when the studio does their demographic look and who's going to see the film, they go through and they sort of make the movie that they think they can market. And so when the movie came out as a rated, was it PG?
PG.
Yeah. So it came out rated PG, or was it G?
PG. No, it was
PG.
It was PG.
So the Stooges' original brand of humor would be what we today call PG-13. You know, it was a little edgier, a little more. You know, they weren't catering to kids, even though kids ended up being ones that also really loved it. What happened with the studio in this film, I think, was there was this disparity between, is this a kid's movie, is it not a kid's movie? And I think that's where there are certain things that were intentional on people.
It was a problem, I shouldn't say problem, it was an issue with Fox in terms of what we're aiming for, who's the audience, and so forth. I don't think the Fox studio execs really ever understood the property, the brand, the Three Stooges. Of course, we all did. We all knew what we were doing, but unfortunately, the studio at all times didn't know what it was doing, which is one of the reasons why the next movie will not be with Fox.
Let me just ask.
But he's right. It was a PG movie, and the next movie will probably be PG-13 because we want to get the right action of the Three Stooges, the kind of action they would have that's right for the tone of the Three Stooges and not necessarily right for the studio and where they think they're going with it. So we're going to have a lot more control over the next one.
I may be out of turn here, Mark. Unless you guys need the room, we don't mind if we go a little over. Unless
We do have somebody in about 15 minutes.
okay,
Tell
so
them to
just,
sit
you
down.
know, tell them operators 12, 14, and 15 are here. And tell them that's from Captain Dodge.
Paul Howard, I'll tell him.
All right, let them know. Boys, Dad's here.
Gentleman in the back with a question.
Thanks. This young lady has had her hand up for 15 minutes. We gotta get her. Oh,
I appreciate my wife doing
sorry. Yes, sir. Well, listen. Beauty first.
And humanity.
I like the crash helmet.
This was for Mo from Three Little Pigs.
Oh, wow.
Is it?
Three Little Pigs.
It's not. That's not the actual one, is it?
No.
Because if it is,
You're a louse and a weasel.
Whose idea was it to put Larry David as a nun?
I want to say that was Pete and Bob. That was Pete Fairley.
Was he chosen for that, or was, I mean...
Oh yeah, and he was, I have to say, he was like an 11-year-old boy on that set. He was so, and by the way, he didn't want to see behind the curtain. He called me Mo. He didn't ever want to see me. He was like, hey Mo, you know, he was like spending time with the Stooges. He was just a delight to work with.
Pete and him, you know, are pals, and he was into the Curb Your Enthusiasm, and so I asked him to do it. I don't know that Mr. David knew exactly what he was signing up for. There were a few times he's like, oh really? You want me to? Okay. And
How about when he was in the pool and he goes, you didn't tell me how to, with his shoes on and a nun suit on. He goes, I'm drowning over here.
Yeah.
I'm drowning. He was like, no, we got a guy off to the side. You'll get grab it. Don't worry about it. But anyway,
but he was literally treated as like jukeboxes because he would come up. He was such a Stooge fan from his childhood. Be like, can you do the song from what is it? Which one? Song Goodbye Baby. I was born in a tree. And he would just like tune us up every day and going, you want to do this, do that, do this bit.
He knew he asked me for that. There's a song that Mo did, and I'll never forget the lyrics to this thing because they're out there. He goes, oh, the cows were flying about as the wife made sauerkraut. And then Curly gets in the face with a tomato. That's it. He wanted to hear that song. How do you know that song?
You want to?
I told you how great you are in the role, because everyone in this room has seen a number of Stooges impersonators that don't even pass for Oh, that's true. But it was very evident that you guys were fans. I mean, that really came through.
Oh, that's
he's the
kind.
best guy,
Appreciate it.
believe me.
My question for you is,
Believe me.
assuming this is a successful franchise with a series of these, is there any concern that you guys aren't getting
Typecast.
No, I don't think so. I think it's impossible to be typecast as the Stooges because there's no such thing as replacing the Stooges. I think everyone, nowadays that would look at that has to look at it as an homage, even if they're just barely paying attention to it. And I can say personally, I can't watch myself in the movie because every single thing I did, I would close my eyes and go, how would Curly do this? So, whether we don't need to get into it, but a lot of you here probably watch the movie, that's not Curly. And that's how I feel, because I don't watch the movie, I'm being really honest. To me, it can only be an homage. It can only be a love letter, because nobody could ever replace them and what they do. No one can come close. So to watch it, for me, so true. So it's like, we're playing around, we're stepping in their shoes, and as we've gone on and on, we're massive fans. But there absolutely is a blueprint, and no one can ever replace the Stooges, so it's impossible to be typecast as them.
But if we do 5 movies, they'll get, you know what I mean?
You know what I'll say? I'll say this: if that's the worst case scenario, acting-wise, bring it on.
The other thing I want to mention, and you need to understand, I know you all know this, these guys are incredibly talented, and they're on television all the time. And Chris is on Silicon Valley right now. I'm sure you know that, and a couple other TV series. Will's on Shameless right now, isn't he?
Oh yeah, we just finished that.
Just finished it? Yeah, he's got these guys are working all the time. Trust me, you see them on TV every night, and it's because they're incredibly talented, as you can see up here. It just comes right through. So they're not gonna have any problem getting work, trust me.
Guys, this has been a real treat. Thanks for listening to us on Belgium. Enjoy the convention here. Thank you guys very much.
I want to mention one more thing. Will and Chris and Mike are going to be available for autographs between 1 and 2 o'clock in the autograph room. So if you want to get an autograph, come on by and get an autograph.
That's okay.